I do it all the time on calls. Hey, happy Degen Day. Welcome back to another episode of Go FUD Yourself. JD Gagnon here, my good friend Kiara. It's Degen Day.
It is Degen Day. It's hilarious to me that you're wearing a Liquid Collective shirt on Degen Day. You just pick the most institutional shirt that you have.
Yes, but it has to do with the call that I have after this. So quick shout out to Liquid Collective, good friends and partners. Super excited about their progress, and I am a big fan of this hoodie. So
yeah, it's a great hoodie. I have one too.
It is a great hoodie.
How are you doing? It's your favorite day. It's Hump Day.
It is Hump Day. I'm a big fan of Hump Day because, well, it's the middle of the week.
What are you going to do today to get over the hump?
Well, I have a blockchain dinner tonight. That'll be pretty exciting.
Is that where you have to eat on chain? How does that?
You eat chain. That's it. You just eat chain
with blocks. Yeah.
It's super weird, but no, it's usually
Florida, man.
Usually pretty awesome group of people that show up. It's hosted by a good friend of ours, so it's always a good time. So that's tonight. So that's what I'm doing to get over Hump Day. You? Anything?
Wednesday. I never feel like the middle of the week is actually the middle of the week because we work every day, but
yeah. Is there such a thing?
Just it's more like a sphere of a week for me. So I try to get the core of the week by, I don't know, going outside for 10 minutes. Who knows?
There you go. Well, we got a bunch of shit to talk about today. What are we?
Okay, well, we're going to start with Wormhole. We're going to talk about Wormhole and what they're launching. And then we're just going to kind of talk about some network news. We've got Avalanche, Polkadot, Solana, Cardano, and Polygon.
All right.
Yeah.
That's we're pretty much covering many of the bases here to begin with, at least all one. All right. Well, quick reminder to everybody, we're a live show, if you can't tell, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Today was pretty smooth. Maybe they can't tell today.
So far, we've got 25 minutes to screw it up still, so don't worry. Anyways, we're on every major venue. Like, share, subscribe, bookmark on Twitter, please, if you don't mind. It really helps us share the love, get the word out, and helps increase reach. So we would appreciate that. We're going to play a quick video. If you are on Spaces and you can't hear it, bear with us for 24 seconds. But I think I figured it out. I think they
can hear it now. I think you don't have to make that announcement anymore. You Frankensteined it together, JD.
Yeah. It was a real work of art around here to get the video process sorted out. Anyways, let's freaking go. We're back.
There's still a delay between StreamYard and Twitter Spaces for me, and so it ends up just being this weird block rockin' beat the whole time we play that.
Hey, that's cool. Hey, I heard you guys are working on a new video to swap out with this one every now and then.
Yeah, well, this one's pretty. I
am a big fan. I'm
urban.
That too. I'll take that.
Well, you always look jacked in them, but. Our lovely designer tries to appease me sometimes.
Not in the newest one. The newest one, I definitely don't look jacked.
Are you a spaghetti man?
I'm smooth brain, I think, in that one. But anyway,
it's more like maybe he's trying to reflect our true personalities. Okay.
Personality, yeah. Exactly.
Wormhole. This isn't exactly new news. I believe that they made announcements about this over 3 weeks ago, but we've been following it to see what's going on, and the dates have been pushed around a little bit. But Wormhole Foundation is launching on Cosmos. Can you guys tell us a little bit about Wormhole and what they're going to be doing on Cosmos?
I do want to tell you all about it, but I won't.
Will you? Cool. Good news.
Essentially, when looking at essentially like an L1 or an L0 like Cosmos that is made up of a whole bunch of other zones in this case, or other blockchains, there's two options really for bridging. Each zone can have its own bridge, and then you have fragmentation of assets, and it's a big thing. Or you can have a canonical bridge for the entire ecosystem, and it's a lot of work and a lot of expense for a bridge like Wormhole to spin up validators for each ecosystem, launch smart contracts everywhere, and so on and so forth. So what they did instead was they launched their own zone, which they then have a lot more control and confidence in security, because a bridge and liquid staking, in my opinion, are the two largest risk makers for an ecosystem. And so what this allows is a lot more security than would otherwise be the case, where Wormhole has way more visibility on it. And because IBC is so good, inter-blockchain communication for Cosmos, when you bridge into Wormhole or into Cosmos, you bridge into the gateway chain and then immediately IBC onto whatever destination network you're working towards. This is really cool. Actually, I think they have a very unique and interestingly decentralized way of managing security on this thing, which I think starts to counter a lot of the criticisms that Wormhole received about being super centralized. So this is really exciting. I mean, Wormhole's connected to a lot of other chains. They've obviously built a pretty good amount of trust over the years. So I think this is a great move, great for Cosmos, great for Wormhole, and we'll see if other ecosystems that are similar, like Avalanche or something like that, maybe end up doing something.
Okay. Just so people have the full vernacular, this is called Cosmos Gateway, and it's called an app chain. You'll be able to connect over 20 blockchains to the various Cosmos zones networks. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting.
Interoperability is the future.
Yes.
All right. I liked your segue into Avalanche that I totally ignored. So while Cosmos is growing via Wormhole and some of their other initiatives, Avalanche is still seeing huge skyrockets in their usership, but this is paired with a lowered TVL. So it's just kind of interesting to think about that the C-chain transactions spiked to almost 500,000 daily this quarter.
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of transactions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount of activity on Avalanche, actually, C-chain in particular. So this doesn't account for all the subnets that are starting to launch and really show some efficiency and some growth and adoption. But anyways, I mean, there's been quite a few decent protocols of late launching on Avalanche, novel technologies. I'm not going to list them out of a risk of missing some, but there is some really good protocols that are recently launched in Avalanche. I think that's a big piece of it. This to me should not be conflated with the reduction in TVL numbers as even the same story. TVL being down 20% is likely to do with market volatility over the period, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't take much for the major tokens that make up TVL to be down 10, 20% in aggregate. So
yes, right before this episode, say what the fuck, Avalanche?
Say what?
Right before we went live, you were looking at Avalanche prices and you were like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the charts today, but that's not just Avalanche, actually. I zoomed out a little bit and it's like ETH took a dump at the same time. So did BTC.
Yeah, like how's Polkadot doing?
I don't follow Polkadot.
Well,
is that our segue?
Maybe you should. Getting so
okay.
Maybe you should, because Polkadot's PokaSafe has some new updates to its technology. That was it. That's all I had. I don't follow Polkadot, but I thought people would want to know that PokaSafe is updating and they're going to have a better on and off ramp. They're going to have better analytics dashboards, better security, and better NFT support.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure how PokaSafe works, to be honest. But one of the challenges plaguing Polkadot has been tooling between parachains. Exactly the opposite of what I suggested that IBC is really good for. Polkadot requires a lot of customization, and the parachains. There's been a lot of things that have had to be changed about Polkadot in practice relative to in theory. It's also been fairly non-performant for a long time. Oh boy. Excuse me. It's been pretty low performance for quite a while. It functions now. At first it didn't really at all.
That was like the most PC thing you could say about Polkadot. You said that in the kindest way possible. I wish you were that nice about my downfalls.
Yeah, well, we can't even talk about those on the air. So, but yeah, I mean, Polkadot, it's kind of a tough one because it was so much hype at first, and then delay, and then launch, and millions of problems, and now it's a bear market. So,
yep.
I mean, if any of the, and then we had some really unfortunate circumstances with the depeg of the Kala USD, which essentially killed Akala. And we had the Nomad hack on Moonbeam, which effectively put them back almost a year. So there's been some, extraordinary events that have impacted this too. So it's not all just a shit on Polkadot or any of the builders. I think a lot of them have the right intention. It just circumstances made it a little bit more.
The news says that you're not the only one with negative sentiment around Polkadot. So let's see if PokeSave can save that, I guess.
Speaking of great sentiment, let's talk about Solana.
Yeah, everyone loves Solana. I actually think this one's kind of cool. So Synesis One is a new app on Solana. And the idea is that they want to incentivize ethical, transparent, and accurate AI data collection and dissemination. So the idea here is that if you're using like ChatGPT and it's hallucinating at you, that does not qualify as ethical, transparent, or accurate. Kind of a cool concept that they are putting together rewards for people who do a good job at AI. But I'm always concerned when one person gets to decide what's a good job and what isn't.
Yeah. What is the standard?
Is like not my love here. But it's kind of a cool idea. It's a bit of a novel way to combine blockchain and AI that we haven't seen. And I don't know, maybe it'll gamify some AI innovations. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this to me kind of reminds me of like Steppen or like some of those other apps at first. They went bananas. I know a lot of people that made multiple six figures just doing the tasks and getting the boxes and all this other BS. I didn't do it, of course. But that's kind of what this reminds me of. Like, I think in theory, this sounds really good. Like it sounds really cool that we're trying to figure out ways of incentivizing ethical and transparent AI data sets. Totally support that. I just don't see how they're going to build an economic structure for it that's sustainable. What usually happens, Steppen, and then all of these gaming projects that were giving away tokens like crazy at first, they all just eventually go to zero, or
absolutely,
they inflate themselves into non-existence. So I hope that's not the case here. We've got to start somewhere. Almost always there's like 5 or 6 attempts at something before we find a path that might work. So
I don't know. I like this concept.
The concept, like in theory, it sounds good. I think what they're trying to accomplish is great. I'm not clear that they're going to accomplish it the way they're approaching it. That's my only concern.
That's fair. The other thing that I did like about this is they said that they want to be non-politicized. So there's some concern that some AI is coming out of China and some AI is coming out of America, and it's going to be very political. And Solana believes that they can do this in a non-political way. I don't know how. I assume that they also operate out of a country on Earth, but I like the the utopian feel to it.
Yeah.
So Solana, hand in hand, is also launching Bitcoin, Threshold Network Bitcoin.
Yep. So this is just another version of wrapped Bitcoin. They don't have, as far as I understand, WBTC, and specifically not native WBTC, which is the most trusted, largest market cap Bitcoin wrapper that exists. I mean, this is good. There's a ton of liquidity sitting in Bitcoin. I think a lot of people have assumed that it would be fun and easy to tap into that liquidity by just supporting Bitcoin in the other ecosystems. But I think a lot of Bitcoin maxis are corporations, enterprise, not all of them, but a lot of the bigger wallets of Bitcoin now are starting to be a little bit more corporate. And they're not the type of people that are going to put their Bitcoin in Degen DeFi somewhere. But I think anytime that we see more expansion of interop and multi-chain for a lot of these assets, it builds more utility into the tokens, even if it's moderately adopted. That's definitely good. So we'll have to see how this goes. I mean, I haven't.
Makes me a little bullish for Solana, which is not my usual sentiment for Solana.
I haven't heard of Threshold too much, so that'll be interesting to see how they build their brand and reputation using Solana. It's cool.
Okay, well, on to Polygon. I guess before we start even, how do you feel about Polygon? Do we have good sentiment? Do we have bad sentiment? Where's Polygon in the market?
So, I mean, I've met with the founders quite a bit, both in person and on calls for different things. They're a really smart group. I have a hard time because when Polygon first launched, they were way ahead of everybody in terms of layer twos, or how to try to work as a layer two. And they deserve a lot of credit, I think, for pioneering that space in many ways. They've also spent a pretty good amount of time and resources on ZK EVM, which is their new EVM layer, tech layer, which is pretty cool. There's some really cool things. I was listening to a panel where they were talking a lot about, what ZKs really can do. And there was a lot of TradFi groups in the room that were like super excited about it. So Polygon spent a ton of money attracting liquidity early on, which attracted a lot of scams. Then Polygon spent a ton of money attracting big brands, Starbucks and the like. I think maybe GameStop or something. So they're trying really hard to build a reputable brand, and they're still here. So I think, yeah. Two sneezes in one day.
Goodness.
Holy moly. They're going crazy.
Well, Polygon is trying to expand, I guess, by partnering with Heroku. So Heroku is a decentralized app store protocol, and they've created a dApp store kit. So with over 900 dApps that are already pre-populated on it, so that you can go in as a dev and create your own dApp store sub Polygon. So kind of an interesting way to go about it. But I'm curious to see what it looks like. It could be the building blocks of new marketplaces or not.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I think what they're trying to go after here is like the Play Store, Google Play Store, or Apple App Store eventually, where if your app is deployed or downloaded via Heroku, then they get a cut of revenue or something like that. And their idea is to build a platform. I think this is interesting. We'll have to see where it goes, but I think if we're using mobile as a leading indicator, that's really what exploded app utilization and exposure on mobile. It's really, really, really difficult as the space grows to garner attention. So these platform plays offer opportunities for additional advertising and optimizations. And this is actually kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it'll work, but if it does, it'll work really well. So I think this is pretty cool. I think it's a smart move. They support, as far as I know, they support ETH, BNB chain, Polygon,
it's any EVM
Solana.
compatible dApp store.
So it's pretty cool. And it makes
kind of an interesting tagline though. Build your own dApp store, set your own rules. Do we have a problem with dApp store rules right now?
Well,
it's just interesting. I don't know.
Royalties and stuff like that. Like those are the rules, I guess. They want to be the dApp store for dApp stores. I'm not sure if that's going to work. Like, I don't think that fragmenting this into a million small pieces is going to be a value add. I would rather see one or two, kind of like Apple and Google, compete for the lion's share of the market, just because it creates this economies of scale, I think, from a marketing perspective for both the dApp store and the dApps, to have more concentration on a few of these applications as opposed to a million. So we'll see what happens. All right. Well, shall we fly over to Cardano?
So let's move into Cardano. This is like the Arms race, but just on networks.
Which no one ever talks about for good reason.
Is that true? Tell me about Cardano. Why don't you talk about Cardano? Do you hate Cardano?
Cardano is like a textbook example of a whole bunch of promise and no punch. A lot of
that is perfect for Muesli Swap on Cardano, who misrepresented how their slippage worked. But to their credit, they are refunding people who lost money based on not knowing how slippage worked. So if you have been working with Muesli Swap and you were pissed off, maybe you'll get your money back.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with how the matching engine works for buyers and sellers. And they had created artificially large slippage tolerance in certain areas. Anyways, it was just one of those things. This is a good example, I think, of DYOR. just because everybody's using an app, don't just ape in. Like, read the docs, try to understand what the hell they're doing, what makes it novel. I mean, yeah, it's honorable, I think, that they're making people whole. It's the only thing they could do, obviously, or they would have, in my opinion, killed sentiment. I'm surprised the exchange even works on Cardano, because a project that shall not be named, great founder, great team. I know them really well, was working with them for a long time, launched on Cardano, and then almost instantly realized that the TPS, transactions per second, were so low that they couldn't actually function their application. So then they started trying to build rollups immediately after Cardano launched to try to make it more performant. And so, it's very non-performant at the morning at this point. That other protocol closed down because they just couldn't. It had been 2 years of waiting for Cardano to make upgrades that just never seemed to come. There's a lot of academic peer review happening, but not much deployment. So, anyways.
Cardano did make one other big upgrade that we can talk about, which is that they're also integrating wrapped Bitcoin.
Yeah. So again, my opinion on this is the same. So it's cool to see Bitcoin in new ecosystems. This is Anita BTC, which is another. I've never heard of them. And so we do need to be a little bit careful because there is counterparty risk, and they might be legitimate. Don't take my lack of understanding as.
Yeah, you're being a little bit funny when we're supposed to dispel FUD.
I'm being a little bit funny about it, but I think I'm just trying to encourage caution.
Yes, go look it up. DYOR. Don't listen to us.
Not financial advice. But again, like, if we have a whole bunch of these wrapped Bitcoin standards, different ones for different chains, then we get a bunch of liquidity fragmentation, and it makes it even more inefficient moving from one ecosystem to another, because you can't bridge Anita BTC to Solana for whatever that was called, TBTC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't do that. Like, that's not how it works. So it does create some inefficiencies later. It's quicker now to get these, to have many different companies launching because they have different runway. But I don't know. To me, I think this one, this is going to be a flop personally. But that's just my opinion.
Well, let's end on a nice, fun, friendly note to get people through the rest of their week. The Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon is back. So if you're hearing that there's Bitcoin on Cardano and there's Bitcoin on Solana and there's Bitcoin entering DeFi, you might be excited to know that you too can enter essentially a hackathon or whatever. You can get a reward of over $100,000 in prizing. So you can register between August 9th and September 17th. You submit a 3-minute pitch video, which is like pretty straightforward. And it needs to be about Bitcoin DeFi and ordinals movement.
Ordinals, yeah. I mean, Bitcoin DeFi is actually getting kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's kind
so
of cool.
on one hand, we're seeing a lot of these groups try to take Bitcoin into other ecosystems. And then meanwhile, we're seeing Bitcoin really start to encourage DeFi. Lightning Network is really difficult to build on. It's very complex, but incredibly performant if you know what you're doing. So there's some really cool stuff that's being developed there from a DeFi perspective. Then there's other ecosystems like Core, which are EVM on Bitcoin. And it's really interesting security structures, just very interesting, and a lot less friction going from Bitcoin mainnet to these EVMs or DeFi chains, kind of layer 2s. So I think it's really interesting. I think hackathons are amazing. Like, so many incredible protocols that I know were actually, the catalyst was a hackathon. Like, many of them, the engineering teams met by doing a hackathon randomly, which I think is really cool. Yeah, this is, I mean, 100,000 in prizes sounds awesome and it's cool. But I think the potential impact to the space is many multiples of that. So check it out if you're trying to, find a way to meet other founders, meet other people. You've got some cool ideas.
If you want to build, now is your time.
These are great playgrounds. Yeah, love it. Okay.
That's our good news of the day. So you got some FUD. You got a little bit of hype, though. Get through your Wednesday.
Today I was a little bit fuddy, but I think it's just throwing caution.
Well, you have to take over my role.
Throw caution out there a little bit. Okay. Live show, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. All the venues,
every day?
Every day. Every
my
day.
God.
We miss one day in like 150 episodes, which is kind of crazy. Not including major holidays. But even then, we've been on most major holidays.
We did most of them. Yeah.
So anyways, it's a live show, so check us out. Like, share, subscribe, help spread the love. Tomorrow is crypto arms race, so we'll be flying around the world talking about news from different jurisdictions. With that, I say to you, Kiara, go
FUD yourself.
Later.